Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and learn how to use Replicate. So Replicate is a Python library, not just for Python, but for other programming languages as well, such as JavaScript, PHP, and you can also run it in Docker container. So the Replicate helps you to basically work with machine learning models that have been hosted on the cloud for you, so you don't have to run them locally. So the video before I uploaded this video, right, the last previous tutorial, I made a video on how to use how to load Llama 2 locally on your machine, either using a CPU or a GPU, right? So we went over how to load it locally, and one of the things that we saw in that video is that it's really resource intensive. You need a really powerful computer with a very good CPU and GPU to be able to run Llama 2 locally on your machine, and takes a lot of RAM and resources, right? So one of the solutions to this is just to have the models in the cloud and then have a library that enables us to talk with these models in the cloud, and that is exactly what replicate is. So it saves you a lot of headaches of having to be required to run the model locally on your machine, which is very a good idea. So we're going to go ahead and learn how to use replicate in this video. We'll learn how to interact with create a replicate account, getting a replicate API token, and then finally work with different models such as the stability AI models, there's the diffusion models to be able to generate images, convert text into audio, be able to convert basically text into images and stuff like that. We'll also be able to work with be able to generate code using LLMs and other stuff like that. I'll also show how to work with the Llama 2 model that is hosted on Replicate. Okay, so at the end of the day, we're going to also go ahead and create a very simple project, actually a very awesome project. So in this project, it's going to ask you, maybe you just give the program the name of the company and what the product the company creates, right? And it's going to go ahead and generate for you an advertisement text, a company logo. It's also going to generate for you an audio version of the advertisement text, right? So that you can use to advertise your businesses and other stuff like that. And you're going to do all this using machine learning, basically models that have been hosted in the cloud. So you don't have to run anything locally on your machine. So all you have to do is to install the library. So also going to go ahead and learn how to work with Replicate with LangChain. And if you're not LangChain, you can check out my videos on LangChain. Okay, so if you haven't watched this video, again, you can check out I'm going to leave a card up here. You can check out the video, or you can check out the link of the video in the description. Okay, and then I'm also going to go ahead and show you my playlist to LangChain. In case if you're new to LangChain, you can click on that playlist and be able to watch introduction to LangChain videos as well. Okay, so good. So let's look at the outline of what you're going to be covering in this video. So first we're going to be going over is the outline of the project, right? So we're going to go ahead, I sign up and generate a replicate account, and then finally get our API token. So let's go ahead and start with step one. So in step one, what I want you to go ahead and do is just go to YouTube and Google, or whatever browser that you use. I'm using Google Chrome. You can use Firefox or any browser that you're comfortable with. So just type in replicate. Okay, replicate, and just go ahead and click on the first link right here. Okay, so replicate is the first link. Click on it and it will bring you to a page similar to this one. Okay, so at the time of recording the video, this is how the page looks like. So there'll be a sign up button right here. Just go ahead and click on the sign up button to create an account. I already have an account created, so you can see I'm logged in right here. So once you have an account created, what's next is going to go ahead and getting our replicate API key. So you can just go ahead, once you create an account, go ahead and to go API tokens, or because basically API key. You're going to be using the default API key if you which is used in all the replicate documentations. So you can go in here, explore, and then you can click on any of this, and you can see the API key. You can go ahead to API tab, and then you can see the API key is publicly available right here. Okay, so we're going to be using this API key, but if you want to create your own API key, you can go ahead and create your API key, but I'm going to be using the public API key. Okay, because I think the private API key you have to pay something. Okay, so I'm just making this video so that you guys can all follow along without having to pay for anything. Okay, so once we have this, we saw how to get an API key. Let's go ahead and see what's next we have to do. So let's go ahead and install all the dependencies right here. So let's go ahead and install all the dependencies. So I'm just going into my terminal, and I have a folder created called replicate tutorial, and instead of here, I don't have anything inside of it. So if I do ls, Windows is going to be dir, so dir on Windows, but on MacBook and Linux is just ls, and you can see I have nothing inside of my folder right now. And I'm going to go ahead and create a virtual environment to keep our Python project dependencies separate from our global Python dependencies. So I'm going to say Python 3 and then -m vnv, and then I'm going to call it vnv and then create that. Okay, so that's how you can create it on a MacBook and a Linux machine. For a Windows, I think it's pi and then -m vnv and then vnv. Again, you can always do research to find how to do that on Windows. So once I do that, I can do an ls, which is going to be equivalent of dir on Windows. So you can see I have a VNV folder right here, which is my virtual environment. Now I need to go ahead and activate my virtual environment. And to activate, I'm going to do source VNV bin/activate, and that's going to go ahead and activate my virtual environment. And you can know your virtual environment is activated whenever you can see the name of this folder inside of at the beginning of the line in your terminal. So that shows my virtual environment is activated. So I'm going to go ahead and install a couple of libraries. The first one is going to be LangChain. So we say pip install LangChain, just like that, and press enter, and that's going to go ahead and install LangChain. So while this is installing, I can also go back in here and let's see. You also need to go ahead and install Replicate. So you can, there are many ways you can do this. You can go to the official documentation of LangChain, and then search for Replicate in the search bar, and you bring it to this page. For now, at the point of recording the video, this is how the page looks like. So you can just go pip install Replicate, or you can also go in here into the this page, go into the explore, and then go into documentation, right? And then from here you can go ahead and click on Python. So we're going to be using Python for this. Again, as I mentioned, you can also use other languages like Node, X, and basically JavaScript. You can also use other languages. So I'm going to use Python. So then I click on this, and I can go ahead and say pip install Replicate. So I'm going to copy that command, go back in here, and just paste it here and run that. So it's going to go ahead and install Replicate for us. So good. Now once you have that installed, you're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Visual Studio Code. Feel free to use any editor that you're comfortable using. So I'm going to use VS Code. So I'm going to open VS Code. Okay. Yeah, so once my VS Code is open up, I'm just going to go ahead and begin to code. So we can begin to code right here. Before begin to code, we need to install one more library. First of all, let's create a file right here. I'm going to call this file .env. Okay, so it's going to be dot and then env, not env, but dot and then env. So the full stop or the dot is very, very important. So don't forget that. So it's dot and then env. So once I have this created right here, I'm going to go ahead to the official documentation of Replicate, and I'm going to go ahead and click on explore right here, and I can go ahead and just click on any model. So let's go ahead and click on this model right here and just go to API tab, and instead of here I'm looking for something, I'm looking for this key right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. So let me just copy that right here, and I'm going to go in here and paste it right here. So that's all I want to do, and I'm going to copy this. Okay, so now this is our environment variable. So we don't want to, I don't want to actually do a bad practice by keeping this directly inside of my code. That is really bad practice. So even whenever you have an API key, always make sure that you have your API key inside of a virtual environment, and this virtual environment you don't push it to Git. So you just create a Git ignore file and you ignore this env file. Okay, so even if you have your own private API token, make sure that you use an environment variable to store it, and you ignore this file whenever pushing to GitHub or other repositories. Okay, so now let's actually, how do you read files from how do you read values from this environment variable file? So to do this, you need to install one more library in Python. You're going to say pip install, it's going to be python -decouple. Okay, decouple, just like that. And this Python library help us to read basically values from this env file. Okay, so once you have that done, let me just go ahead and first of all create a file. So let's see what you're going to be writing the first. So the first thing to go ahead and do is actually working with the Llama 2 model. So this is going to be Llama 2 model. So sorry for the typos. This is Llama 2 model. So let's go ahead and work with the Llama 2, the Llama version 2 model. So I'm going to create a file right here. I'm going to call it llama underscore version 2.py. Okay. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and simply import a couple of things. I'm going to import OS. I'm also going to go ahead and import a couple of things. So I'm going to say I'm going to say from decouple. I'm going to go ahead and import config, just like that. I'm also going to, yeah, that's all I need. And I'm going to go ahead and simply say my replicate API key is going to be equals to, and I'm going to say basically config, and then finally config, and then finally passing this variable right here. So this variable that I'm using right here is what we have inside of here. Okay, so I'm going to close that up, and then finally I'm going to now say os.env environment, and I'm going to go ahead and pass in environment key. So make sure that is this right here is the same spelling. Okay, and go ahead and say equals to our replicate API key, which is what we stored inside of here. Or you can just simply copy this directly and have it pasted here. You get the same result. Okay, so that also works. So that's it. So that also works in case you use whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, I'm going to use this for now. Just use this for now. Okay, so that's basically we have loading our environment variable. Now environment variable is loaded up. Now let's go ahead and start using our replicate. So I'm going to say from LangChain. So from LangChain dot LLMs I'm going to go ahead and import the replicate. So import replicate. So once I have that imported, I'm going to go down here and create first LLM, which is going to be the Llama model. So I'm going to say replicate, and then finally pass in the name of the model that you want to use. Okay. So now let's go back in here. Let's go back to explore. Okay. So once I'm in explore right here, I can click on the Llama 2 chat model, which has been fine-tuned for chatbot. So this is the Llama 70 billion parameter model that has been tuned for chatting. So fine-tuned for chatting. So I'm going to go into the API tab, and once I'm in here, I can just go ahead and get this right, which is the model name, the model name on the replicate platform. So I'm going to say model, and I'm going to say model is going to be equals to, and then paste that there. So that's going to be our model. You can go ahead and specify inputs, and you can pass in a bunch of, okay, I made it, this need to be inputs, and then this one be a dictionary. So you can go ahead and pass in a lot of stuff. You can pass in the temperature. Okay, temperature and can leave to be 0 point, let's say 80. You can pass in basically a max underscore length. So let me get this out of the way. So max length, and max length can be something like, let's say 500. Okay, we want max length to be 500. And you can also go ahead and get the top underscore p, and this is going to be 1. Okay, so that's basically it. So this, again, this is a dictionary, Python dictionary, not a list, so my bad for that. So this is by a Python dictionary. So once we have that there, temperature, max length, okay, make sure that you have the spellings right, and also have top p, which is basically 1. So once we have this, we can go ahead and simply run our model. So you can simply go ahead and generate a prompt, and this is going to be of type string, right? You can use type int if you want. Also here you can use type int. It's going to be of type replicate, but there's no point of specifying type ints. They're going to be inferred, right? So but you can use it if you want to. And I'm going to go ahead and write a code here. So basically we're going to say AI, and you're going to say answer the following question by and show your reasoning to the final answer. Okay, so answer right here. You're going to go ahead and pass in the questions. So let's ask it. Actually, so this very funny prompt on LangChain offshore documentation that basically asks, can a dog drive a car? And I found this really interesting. So let's ask it, can a dog drive a car? Okay, and that's the question that we have. And then finally, we're going to get the basically the AI. So this actually happens to be let's say human. Okay, the human, and then finally the AI, right? So that's basically it. So once we have this done, you can just go ahead and say response, and this response is going to be of type string. The string response is going to be LLM, basically what we created right here, and you're going to go ahead and pass in our prompt, and prompt is going to be equals to our prompt that we have right there. So that's all we need. So this is actually LLMs and LLM, not LLMs, so my bad. So once we have that done, you can simply go ahead and print the response onto the screen. So that's all I want to do. So save that, and now you can go ahead and begin to run the code, and that's all we need to do. So we simply loading our environment variables right here, and then finally loaded our model and a prompt, and then finally call the model with a prompt, and then print out the response of the model. So once we have that done, you can go back and simply clear the terminal, and you can do Python 3, my bad, Python 3, and then you can say Llama version 2.py, and then simply run that. So once we run this, now the model is gonna go ahead and talk to the model that is hosted on Replicate. I get back a response. I simply print that onto the screen. So let's give it a bit of time. Something can take a bit of time depending on how fast your internet is, okay, or how busy the network is. So you can see it says it responds. It says, yeah, sure. How to help? The question of whether a dog can drive a car is interesting one. While dogs are capable of learning to perform a variety of range, driving a car is a complex feat that requires combination of physical and cognitive abilities that are shared with humans. Uh, to be so to begin with, dogs do not have the opposable right thumbs or fingers to which can enable them to drive a car. So you can see all the instruction right there, right? So at the end of the day, dogs do not have the ability to drive a vehicle, right? So that's good. So we have that working fine. So you can see how easy that is. So compared to the last video, we did this using Llama locally. It was more resource intensive, but now it is much easier. So good. So once we have that done, let's move and see what's the next thing we're going to do. So next we're going to go ahead and generate code using the Llama 2 model. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So I'm just going to go, let's go back in here, and I'm going to go ahead and simply say, basically create a new file, and this file I'm going to call it code llama.py, and this is after the name of the model. So let me just go ahead and show you that model right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on explore. And once I click on explore, I'm going to go ahead and say code Llama, the 13 billion parameter Llama model that has been fine-tuned for generating code. And you can read about the demo and see how it can write code and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm not going to waste the time. You're just going to go ahead into the API section or the API tab and begin simply get the name of this model. But first of all, let's go in here and let's go in here. I'm just going to go ahead and copy everything and simply have it pasted in here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is simply change the name of the model. So I'm going to go ahead, grab this name right here, and I'm going to replace it with this one right here. So change this and paste that there. So once we have that done, you're good to go. And I don't need all this. I can just delete them if I want to. So I'm going to get rid of them. And then once I have that, now we can go ahead. The only thing we need to change is the prompt. So let's go ahead and write a prompt. So, okay, so let me just go ahead and simply write Python script to be used to print hello world message on the screen. So that's basically it, and let's see how the model performs. So let's give it that prompt to be able to write a Python script. So this is going to be able to generate for us a Python script using the code Llama model. So once we have that done, you can just go ahead and simply begin to run this. I'm going to change this code Llama and simply run that. So that's going to go ahead and write for us a Python script that's going to be able to print hello world onto the screen. So let's give it a bit of time, and once that runs, that should return to us a Python script. Okay, so we have the response back right here. So you can see I actually give us a lot of stuff that we don't actually need. So this is not fine. This is not good at all. It just has a bunch of code. The problem is computers are great calculators. They are very, just give us a bunch of instructions instead of code. So that's really bad. So let's actually tell it to write for us a Golang. Okay, Golang code. Let's say Golang code, and let's see how this works. So clear the terminal and then finally run this again. So this is going to write for us a Golang code to be used to print hello world message onto the screen. So let's see how it performs. Sometimes it just gives you really ridiculous output. Sometimes actually gives you actually good code. So you can actually explore. There are different models on here onto the platforms. Just go and to explore. There are different models. This is a 13 billion parameter model, so it's really a very small model. You can also use a one for 70 billion parameter model that is fine-tuned for writing code. I think the output there should be really better. So you can see we get back a bunch of this, which is not actually correct, right? So that's wrong actually. But basically, you can try out a lot of models and see which model works for you. Okay. So once you're out of this, now let's move on to the next thing that you want to do. The code generation is not really impressive at all, but let's move on to that. You can actually explore the models to write for you better code. Sometimes it works really fine. Sometimes it just generates complete rubbish. Okay, so once we have that done, let's look on to the step 6, which is basically streaming responses onto the screen. So let's see how, like, if you go to ChatGPT, if you are typing if you type out the prompt, the response comes in form of a streamed response, right? Like the model is actually typing out whatever response you're having, right? So we're going to use the same right here and be able to stream the responses onto our screen. So I'm going to go to create a file, right? I'm going to be calling it I'm going to call it a streaming. Let me just call it streaming.py, and in here I'm going to go ahead and copy what we have inside of our here. I'm just going to copy everything and then move it in here and just modify it. Okay, so once we have this done, what you need to go ahead and do is simply modify this to be able to stream the responses onto our terminal. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So first we need to import the streaming callback from LangChain. I'm going to go ahead and say from LangChain dot callbacks dot stream. Okay, streaming to the std out, and I'm going to go ahead and import the following. So import stream std out callback handler, and once you have that callback handler imported, you can just even go right here and simply do a couple of things. So I'm going to go in here, do the following. So I'm going to say streaming. Okay, streaming is going to be true, and therefore you're going to go ahead and pass in the callbacks. Okay, so the callbacks are going to be a list of callbacks. This case, I'm going to use we're going to call back the function that we just imported, which is a streaming std out callback handler, and this is going to go ahead and stream everything onto the screen. So everything that we have inside of the file is going to remain the same. The only difference is that you're going to be streaming the content onto the screen instead of having to print it out. Okay, So once you have that, we also don't need to actually print out anything because it's going to be streamed onto the screen. So if you print it out, you're going to have double output. So I'm just going to ignore that and just simply use an underscore right there. So this is going to stream all the responses onto our screen live. Okay. So once we have that done, I'm just going to click the terminal and then run the code again. So Python 3, and I'm going to say streaming, and then finally run that. Okay. Okay, now we should now see the responses being streamed onto the screen instead of getting one chunk of output. So you can see now the contents are being streamed onto the screen instead of having one output. Okay. Okay, so you can see we have the output right there being streamed onto the screen. So that's how you can stream the responses onto the screen. If you want to, or you're building an application that requires you to stream the content to the user, this is how you can stream the content. Okay, so once we have that done, you're good to go. So now let's look what else we have on our list. So now let's go ahead and use Stability AI to generate images. So you can also use Replicate generate images of different things that you want. So basically convert text into an image. Okay, so if I go back in here into a model right here, and if you go down, I think let's see where that is. So let me see if I have it right here. Okay, this is Stability SDX model, which is really good. And you can see this is a model right here. You can see this is a prompt: an astronaut riding a rainbow unicorn, cinematic dramatics, and then generate for us the image from the text. So basically convert text into an image. So let's see how we can use that in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new file, and I'm going to call it stability stability underscore AI dot py, right? You're going to use the stability mode right here. I'm going to simply go ahead and paste the code from LangChain, this LangChain version 2 file, and I'm going to go ahead and simply paste it in here. Okay, so now let me just go ahead and basically we can change a couple of things. Or the first thing we need to do is to change the name of the model, and I also don't need these guys right here, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of them. So let's go ahead and get the name of the model that you want to use. So go into the API tab, and instead of the API tab, go into scroll down here and then simply copy this right here. Copy it and simply go back in here and change and show you change the name of this right here to be what you just copied right here. So once we have that done, we are good to go. And let me also change the prompt a bit to make it okay. So let's say delete this and say generate. Okay, let's say image of a man on okay of okay, let's actually go ahead and say image of a man uh standing on top of a car, just like that. So this is going to go out and generate the image, and then it's going to return to us we call our LLM with the image. So this is going to be actually, let's change this to be this is not an LLM anymore, it's text to an image model. So text to image, and that's what you're going to use. Just to make the decision, the name is more discreet because this is not an LLM, it's an text to image model. So we're going to convert the text into an image, and then finally it's going to return to us the URL of that image, and then you can simply print it out. Okay, and then you can open the URL in the browser to be able to view that image. So once we have that done, that's all we need to do. So I'm just going to go in here, click the terminal, and then say Python 3, and then stability, okay, and then simply run that. Okay, so once we run this, it's going to go and it takes some time, generate for us the image, and then send us back the URL which you're going to open in the browser to be able to view that image. Okay, so let's give it a bit of time and see how that goes. Okay, so you can get back the output right here. So I can simply copy this right here. I'm going to copy the link and then go into my browser, and I can just simply paste it in here. So paste the link in here, and let's see what we get back. So you can see an image of a man standing on a car. So that's really cool. So be adventurous and try out different things and see what you get back. So let's actually try to generate this right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and but before we do this, one thing I also want to do is that right now you can see just returning to us a URL of that image, and you have to go ahead and copy it and paste in the browser, and then having to view the image. So let's write the code to be able to download this image. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and paste my text here. So an astronaut riding a rainbow unicorn. So I want this image downloaded and saved into a folder on my computer instead of having to go and view it in the browser, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to install one more Python library. So I'm going to say pip3 install. This is going to be called Pilo, right? Pilo in Python, or whatever how you pronounce it. I don't really know. Is Pilo or Pilo? Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Good. So once we have that installed, let's go ahead and import a couple of libraries. So this is gonna be used to uh, download images. So the couple of libraries we need is going to say from Pil. We're going to go ahead and import the image that you're going to use to open our image or create an image object. You're also going to say from also going to say sorry import request to be able to make request to that URL to be able to download the image. I'm going to say from IO import it's going to be byte IO bytes IO, and also going to say import secrets right here. So that's all we need to do. So once we have this done, let's go ahead and begin to download the image. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is actually, let me change this right here to be, instead of response, I'm going to call it image underscore URL underscore uh, basically image URL. Okay, so image URL, we're going to call it image URL, and you're not going to print this anymore. The fact you don't have that variable. So I'm going to go ahead and download the image right here. So I'm going to say download image. So download the image, what you're going to go ahead and do, we're going to get a response. So when you say response, is going to be equals to a request dot get. You're going to simply get, what you're going to get is going to be the image. Let me just get this out of the way. So image image URL, which is going to be returned to us by the text to image model. So once we have the image, we're going to convert this into an image. Obviously, going to say image that we just imported from Pylo, right? You're going to use that class right there. You're going to go ahead and simply say dot open, call that method, and then finally we're going to say byte io bytes io and pass in the response dot content in there. So response dot content, and once we have that there, I'm going to simply go ahead and simply now save the image. So it's going to download the image. Now I'm going to go ahead and save the image. So we're going to generate a random underscore image underscore name, and this is going to be equals to, we could say secrets dot token hex token hex, and then finally we pass in our n number of bytes that we want. So number of bytes, so n bytes, and it's going to say, let's say 10. It's going to generate for us an empty random token, and we're going to add to it .png, because if you look here in here, all the images have a .png extension that you get back from this model. So we're going to say .png, and then finally we're going to go ahead and simply save image image dot save, right, and then go ahead and pass in the image name. So I'm going to say file path, and the file path is going to be an f string. You're going to simply say dot / gen images / and you're going to go ahead and pass in a random image file name. You're going to open this in a read binary format. So once you open this in a read binary format, you're going to open it as a f, and you're going to go ahead and simply do the following. So let me see if I have an error right here. So we're going to, actually, sorry, my bad, I have made an error right here. So we actually don't need to open this in any format. So once we have that, it's going to go ahead and save the image. We can print on the screen image saved. Okay, so this is going to be actually a string. So make sure I have this in form of a string. Okay, good. So once I have this done, that's all we need to do. So let's go ahead and create this folder. It's going to be called gen images. So I'm going to go ahead and create it right here. We call it gen images right here. So gen images, and then going to go ahead, instead of the gen images folder, is going to go ahead and save that image there based on this random file name that we just generated from the image, right? So that's all we need to do. Okay, so that's all we need to do. So once we have all this done, let's just go ahead and test this out. So I'm just going to go ahead, and it's going to say our prompt is an astronaut riding a rainbow a rainbow unicorn. So let's go ahead and run that again. So run that. So this is taking a bit of time, and you can see now I have the image saved. So once we have the image saved, I'm going to go in here, and you can see that I have a file in, and if I open the file, now that's the image of an astronaut riding a unicorn. Right, you can see that the output that we get back right there. So that works successfully, and that's how you can download the image. Okay, so good. So now what do we have next on our list? So now we're going to go ahead and begin to build the project, because we have learned all the necessary stuff we need to do to begin to build the project. So I'm going to create a folder right here. I'm going to call it file rather. I'm going to call it project.py. Okay, and in here, let me just get the basic setup. So the basic setup is just loading these right here. So just copy all these imports and then just bring them right here. Okay, you're going to use all these. Okay, so don't worry, just copy them and bring them right here. So loading our environment variable, we just imported these libraries as well. Okay, so once we have all this imported, what I want to go ahead and do is we need to create two models, and you're also going to be learning how to use LangChain chain, right, sequential chains here. So we're going to learn a lot of stuff right here. So the first thing I want to go ahead and do is to create a dolly model. So to create a dolly model, you can actually go ahead, and I actually found this on the official documentation of LangChain, and you can find the scroll down now all the way down here. I'm going to use a dolly model, so copy that and just go ahead and paste it right here. Okay, so we're going to use this model. Another one model, this model is going to go ahead and generate for us an advertisement text based on the company and what products they are creating. Okay. And then finally, we're going to create another thing, which is going to be the text to image. So if I go here, we're going to be using this model as well. So text to image to be able to generate the logo of the image. So I have those two models right there. Okay. So once I have those, I'm going to go ahead and create the first prompt. So I'm going to say first underscore prompt. And this is going to be a prompt template. So I'm going to go ahead here and say import and say uh, from LangChain dot prompts. I'm going to go ahead and import the prompt template right here. Okay. So I'm going to go in here and just say prompt template, and I'm going to go ahead and pass in the function, say input variables, and input variables is going to be a list of variables. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is you're going to go ahead and ask the user for the company name, right? The company name, and basically the product that the company produces, right? So product, and then finally you're going to have a template right here, and template is going to be a string, basically telling the model what to do. So let's say the provided let's say okay let's say provided that, and then the company name, provided that the company X and Y also or something. So provided the company name, so make sure that this is very similar to, okay, actually made a type right there, copy this and just paste it right here. So that's all we need to do. So make sure I have a comma right here. Okay, so provided that the company, and then the company X, Y, and Z, let's say is a company based in Nairobi. So I'm going to use Nairobi, Kenya, because I'm actually in Nairobi right now. So I'm going to say Kenya, based in Kenya, uh, that produces. Okay, so sorry for a lot of typos. That produces, and then finally passing the product right there. Okay, I'm going to say write me a short. Let's say write me a short 30-word uh, advertisement that can be used to boost sales. Okay, so once I have that done, so let's actually change this to be, let's say 45 words. Okay, so let's actually also make it 45 or 50 or something like that. Okay, so okay, let's just keep it to be 30 because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. So let's leave it to be 40. But if you are on your own time, you can feel free to vamp that up to get more text in there. Okay, so it's going to be our first prompt, and I'm also going to create a first underscore first chain, and our first chain is going to be an LLM chain. So let's go ahead and import that right here. So I'm going to go in and say from LangChain dot chains I'm going to go ahead and import LLM chain, which is just the LLM chain right here. So I'm going to go ahead and use the LLM chain, and then finally pass in the following. So I'm going to go ahead and say LLM, and our LLM is going to be the Dolly LLM that we have. And then finally we're going to go ahead and say prompt, and the prompt is going to be the first prompt right there. And then finally we're going to go ahead and say output, the output key, and which is going to be the output from this layer, or from this chain, and we're going to call this the advert underscore text, right? There's going to be the advert text because it's generating an advert text if you read the prompt right here. Okay, so that's basically it. Now let's go ahead and create the second prompt, and the second module is also the second prompt, and this is going to be equals to prompt template as well. And then finally you're going to go ahead and pass in basically input variables. So the input variable that we're going to have here in this for this second prompt is going to be the advertisement text, which is going to be the output of the first chain. So the output of the first chain is the input to the second chain. Okay, and if I pass in the template right here, and this is going to be a string, and I'm going to go ahead and simply say generate a company logo based on, and then finally based on the provided text, and then finally say passing the text right here, and the text is going to be equals to basically our input, which is going to be this text advert text. Okay, and then paste it in here. Okay, that's all we need to do. So once we have that done, you're good, you're done with the second prompt. Now let's go ahead and create the second underscore chain, and this is going to be equals to an LLM chain, and you're going to go ahead and pass in our basically our LLM, and this is going to be equals to text to image, and then finally pass in our prompt. Prompt is going to be equals to second prompt right here. Okay, so once you have the prompt in there, I'm also going to go ahead and specify the output key, and the output key is going to be called the image URL because it's going to generate for us a logo, and you're going to return to us the image URL of that logo. Okay, so that's the second chain, and once you have that, you're going to combine all this into one sequential chain. So let me just go ahead and import it right here. I'm going to import sequential chain right here, and I'm going to go down here and simply use the sequential chain. So I'm going to say overall underscore chain, which is going to be the sequential chain, and you're going to go ahead and pass in chains. Okay, to pass in the chains argument. It's going to be a list of chains that we have. Okay, so the first is going to be called the first chain, and I'm going to pass in also the second chain. So we have the first chain and the second chain. You're also going to say the input variables, and the input variables is going to be two things, right? The variables that are going to go into the first chain, and these variables are company name and the product. So I can just simply copy them from here and then simply paste it here, company name and the company product that the company makes. And if I pass in the output, what output do you expect from this model? You expect two things. The first one is going to be the image underscore URL. You want the image URL, and also you want the advert text, basically advert underscore text. Okay, so let me make sure I have the spellings right. So image URL, and then finally also want the advert text, which is this right here. Okay, so that's going to be the output of that model. You can also say verbose equals to true, and you can specify that to be true just to see what's going on. Okay, so once we have that done, this is going to go ahead and simply generate basically get the company name and the company their products, and then finally generate for us an advertisement text, and then return to us an advertisement text as an output key. And then for the second model, it's going to do for us a logo, taking the advertisement text and generate a logo based on that, and then it's going to return to us the image URL of that logo. And then finally call this whole prompt, and you're going to expect the input to the first chain will be company name and the product name, and the final output of after writing all these things, you want the image URL and the advert text. Okay, so make sure that these names are similar to the ones that you use above here. Okay, so once we have that done, we can go ahead and simply call this chain. Okay, so you can just go ahead and say sequential. Okay, let me just get this, sequential underscore chain underscore response response is going to be equals to overall chains, and then we call that, and then pass in a dictionary right here. You're going to pass in the company name, so company underscore name, and the company name you can pass in. I'm going to just say, I'm going to get this is just a random name, so I'm going to say Helton clothes. So this is the Helton clothes. I think clothes doesn't have an E in there, so let me just get that spelling right. So Helton clothes. You also pass in the product that the company makes, so product, and the product is going to be basically a fashion clothes, so fashion designer clothing. So it makes fashion designer clothing. So once we have that done, that's all we need to do. We pass in the prompt because this is going to be passing the company email, and then find the product, and it's going to go ahead and generate for us the model response. So this model response is going to be a dictionary. So it's going to be a dictionary having something like basically the output is going to be the image URL. So the first thing is going to be the image URL. So image URL, and it's going to be a bunch of image URLs, and the second one is going to be second element of the dictionary is going to be simply the advert text, right? So the advert text, and then finally the advert text, and it's going to be some text that it's going to be returned, right? So that's basically what we're going to get back from this running this code, right? So this is going to be the output of the sequential chain response. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and finally get the advert text out of this dictionary. Okay, so once we say advert underscore text, and this is going to be equals to sequential chain response dot get, and finally go ahead and get the advert text out of this. So just copy that, paste it in here. Again, go ahead and delete this. I don't need it anymore. I was just wanted to show you. So once we have that, we can actually just print it out. So just print the advert text out, so we can compare if the audio actually matches the advert text. Okay, so once we have that done, we are good to go. So what else we need now? Now we can go ahead and actually download the image. So just say download image. So to download the image is going to be very similar to what we have here so far. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy all this right here, go back in here, and simply paste it here. Okay, so now you're going to go ahead and say we're going to go ahead and get this. So now copy this and I'll paste it in here. But for now, instead of getting the advert text, you're going to go ahead and get the image URL, which is also going to be returned. So image URL, and just paste that right here. Okay, so that's all we need to do to get the image, and that's all we need to do to download the image and save the image on our local machine. So good. So we have the image saved. Now we're going to go ahead and generate the text. So I'm going to say print right here, print, and let's say generating audio. Okay, so please wait. So this can take a bit of time. So once we have that there, so now we can go ahead and actually write the code to generate our audio. So how do we do that? Now let's go back into our replicate AI, replicate the website, and then in here I'm going to go ahead and look for a model that can generate audio. And you can see we have one right here, and I'm going to use the back one. So this one actually good. So copy that, and you can see how you can generate an audio. So you can play this and just see how the audio works. I'm not gonna play this just to save time, so you guys can actually test that out. Okay, so go into the API, and I'm going to simply go ahead and this is the code we can use for it. So actually I need to use Python and not Node. So this is the code that you can use to generate the output right. So we're gonna copy this, go back in here, and then simply paste it in here. So you need to import this right here. So you can just go in here and just say import replicate, just like that. So that's all we need to do, and you can see all this in the official documentation right here. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and actually change what you want to convert into audio, not this, but now our advert text. So advert text, that's what you want to convert into audio. So that's all we need to do, and once we have this done, you're going to get the audio output right here. So I'm going to just change that to be audio audio underscore response right there. So I have audio response, and this is going to return to me the link where I can download this audio file. Okay, so that's all we need to do. So once we have that done, I'm just going to say print let's say downloading audio file. Okay, so you just indicate that you're downloading audio file, and to download audio file, what you can simply do is actually very simple. So I'm going to say response, and the response is going to be the function. So you say request.get, and what do you want to get? You're going to get audio response dot get. You're going to get the audio underscore out. This is just going to be answered as a dictionary, and it contains the audio out text. Okay, so we'll say audio out text, and that's going to return to us the audio out text. Okay, so once you have that specified right there, you can simply go ahead and simply download now the audio. So we're going to first generate a random file name. So you can just get this from right here. I'm going to copy this, and then simply it's going to be save audio. Okay, so during the random file name is going to be audio name. So audio name, and this is going to be a WAV file. So I don't know how you pronounce this. It's WAV or whatever. But all the audio that you get back from this model have a WAV extension, so you don't have to worry about the extension, but it's going to be WAV. Okay, so once we have it, I'm going to simply go use a context manager. So I'm going to say open. I'm going to go ahead and use an F string, right? I'm going to say /gen audio, which is going to be a folder that you're going to create this in a second. You're going to say random, this will be the random audio name right here, and then finally I'm going to open this in write binary mode. So I'm going to open this as F as a file, and I'm going to say f.write write to it, and I'm going to simply write the response dot content in there. So response dot content, and we're going to write the response content in there. Okay, so that's all we need to do, and once I have that, I'm going to go down here and simply say print done. Okay, so we are done. So that's all we need to do. So good. So that's a bit of code, but yeah, that's at the end of the day you should have something actually amazing. So let's go ahead and create this folder right here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder, and it's going to be called Gen Audio. So press that, press enter right there. So we have Gen Audio. That's going to go ahead and change for us audio, and the audio is going to be saved inside of this folder called Gen Audio. So that's all we need to do to have that running. So let's go over this one more time to make sure we don't have any error. Okay, so we have all the imports that we need, and then finally we load in our environment variable, and then finally we created two models, the dolly model and also the text to image model. And then finally the first prompt, and the first prompt basically takes in two inputs, the company name and the car and the product. Okay, so it just gives the prompt to generate for us a company advertisement text based on that information, and then finally pass in here, we get back the advert text. Okay, so write me a 40-word advertisement that can be used to. Okay, so we have that there, and then finally we have this right here, the second template, and has a second chain, and the output of this is going to be the image that we want. So now we put everything together first chain, second chain. The input to the first chain is going to be the company name and the product name. Right, so you can see company name and product name right here, and the output is going to be image role and the advertisement text. So we get back the advertisement text after calling the model, and we print out the screen, and then finally we download the image of that advertisement text and then save it inside of this folder right here. So you see another image inside of this folder, and we print done, and we generate the audio. Okay, so get the audio response, which is going to be this right here. Get the audio out. Okay, so make sure this is audio out. Okay, so audio out. Okay, so make sure this is actually audio out and is properly typed out. So audio out, and then finally go ahead and generate a random file name and simply save the content in there, and then finally print out done. Okay, that's all we need to do. Yeah, so we are good to go. So I'm just going to go into my terminal right here, clear this, and then finally do Python 3, and then we will run the project file. So run this, and it's going to take a bit of time because we have to make a lot of requests. So you can see it's entering the chain, and it's going to go ahead and actually get us everything that we need. Okay, so let's give it a bit of time, and we should get back the advertisement text in no time, and then we can also go ahead and get the logo in no time. So let's give it a bit of time to generate that response. Yeah, so you can see we get back the advertisement text right here. So you say world leading fashion label Hilton Clothes has launched its largest range of casual wear in 2019, spanning across jackets, blah blah. You can see all the advertisement thing. Funny enough, it generates for us a logo or a domain name which doesn't actually exist yet, and you finally save the image. So if you go back in here and you can open up this, nice, this should be the logo. So you can see Hilton Clothes, and then finally case blah blah. I don't know what's this, but you can see Jennifer's logo based on that. Okay, so you can see it's actually working. Okay, now let's go ahead. Now is the downloading the audio. So the audio takes a longer time to generate, so let's give it a bit of time and it should generate for us the audio. Okay, yeah, so now you can see now it's going to go ahead and download the audio. Now it is done downloading audio. So if you go in here, we should now see an audio file. So let me just go ahead and actually open up this audio file and show you what's inside. So I've just opened up my file, and I'm just going to go ahead and say Gen audio and simply run this audio file. I hope you guys can hear this.
Worldwide leading fashion label, Hilton Clothes, has launched its latest range of casual wear for 2019. Spanning across jackets, coats, shirts, tailored t-shirts, the officers that mainly sees on crad and...
Yeah, so that's basically the audio, and you can see it matches with what we have right here, right? So I'm actually not listening to this, but it should because I'm actually recording, so I can't hear the audio, but that's basically it. So it should now matches whatever we have inside this text right here, right? The advertisement text right here. So basically, yeah, that's it, and you can see that's how you can generate the output. And so you can try this out, do some prompt engineering, get better prompts, prompt the model better, get better advertisement text and other stuff like that. And yeah, that's basically it. You can actually customize this a bit, write prompts, and then having to add this instead of the prompt. That should also work fine, right? So that's it for this video, and let's see now what's next on our list. So we have done our project, which is step 8, and the last step. So what next after learning all this? Okay, so there are a couple of projects you can do just to increase your skills. So the first one is image restoration. So if you go back to explore, there's this code model that you can use to do image restoration, which is this model right here. Do image restoration. That's one thing you can do. You can do better code generation. There are better models for code generation than the one we use. Just experiment with them and see what works for you. And also you can also go ahead and generate image to text. There are a lot of models that can be used to convert basically image into a text. And you can see, you can just read through. You can see this image to text, right? You can see text to image or something like that. There are many models that you can use to do a lot of stuff. Okay, so you can also there are models to generate also videos. You can also work with that, generate videos. And so you can go ahead and generate anime images and other stuff like that. You can also generate your own profile that's custom to you. There are a lot of stuff you can do, and there are much more. Okay, so just take your time, explore the available models that we have, and just experiment and see what works. So I really want to know what you guys built. So if you guys have built anything awesome and you love to share it with us, just leave the link to your GitHub repository in the comment section of the video. Okay, so we can all share and learn from each other. So that's all for this video, guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you have learned something actually out of this video. And if you do and you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, one of the easiest ways is simply liking the video, sharing this content with anyone who you think might find it helpful, and also if you want to donate more, you can also buy me coffee. The link is gonna be in the description of the video. Okay, so this is all I wanted to cover in this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys build out of this. Okay, so thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Keep safe.